I have been covering what I believe are some of the best ETFs for maximizing dividend income with an emphasis on minimizing downside risk. Now, high income ETFs have completely taken over the market, and majority of these are covered call ETFs, which sell calls on their underlying holdings to generate premium income, which is then distributed as a dividend, and typically between 9 to 12%, and sometimes even up to 20%. But I like to focus on hidden gems that are yet to be discovered by the majority of investors. ETFs that provide a unique and powerful profile that is genuinely useful for different types of investors. For example, if you're a passive income investor or retiree, you're not aiming for the highest total returns. You're aiming for consistency and low volatility. But as a younger investor, you'd probably prefer to be in high growth sectors in order to capitalize on the compounding effect. So it's really important to distinguish between these two categories. Now, one of the most popular ETFs among retirees for nearly half a decade now is JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. This has become a staple thanks to its combination of risk management and high income generation with a dividend yield of over 8%. And right now, it is actually the most popular high income ETF in the market with over $40 billion in assets under management. Now, it doesn't have the highest return profile, but so far it has been among the best in managing downside volatility. And there aren't many high-income ETFs that provide the same yield and manage risk the way JEPI does. When you look at its performance during varying times of economic stress, like the 2022 bear market, for example, the fund only lost around 3%, and that is in line with prominent dividend ETFs. And in the 2025 tariff-driven sell-off, the fund captured 50% less volatility than the S&P 500. Now, it has been rather difficult to try and find investments that can compete within the same category as JEPI. And that's really because the ETF is very unique in how it works. But I may have found something that is potentially stronger. An ETF that carries practically the exact same risk profile and hedging characteristics, but manages to capture more total returns with better capital appreciation, all while providing a dividend yield that is actually higher than JEPI's at around 10%. So today I'm going to go over an ETF that could potentially replace JEPI. And this brings me to RSPA, which is the Invesco S&P 500 Equal Weight Income Advantage ETF. In my honest opinion, RSPA has the potential to become a core holding among income investors and retirees for the long term. The fund has a series of very unique characteristics that makes it stand out among many other high-income ETFs that I've covered. And remember, I'm only holding about a handful of ETFs that are very specific to my investing goals, and you're going to hold ETFs that are very specific to your own goals. So remember, these videos are just meant to provide you with information. All right, so let's begin and let's start with the profile. The fund was launched in July of 2024, which makes it less than 2 years old. Now, that's a short track record, but in that time, it has done some very impressive things. The fund currently sits at around $750 million in assets under management, and it is growing fast. Over the last year alone, the fund's assets have grown by approximately 150%. Outpacing many other high-income ETFs within its category. Now, the dividend yield currently sits at around 9 to 9.5%, which is already meaningfully higher than JEPI's 8 to 8.5%, and the expense ratio is only 0.29%, which is actually lower than JEPI's 0.35%. And this is significantly lower than majority of other high-income ETFs, such as SPYI, which sits at 0.68%. So right off the bat, you are getting more income potential for less cost, and that combination alone is worth paying attention to. Building a resilient portfolio isn't just about owning different stocks, it is about true asset class diversification. While ETFs are great for equities, sometimes investors want more direct exposure to assets like commodities, energy, or treasury yields. That's where Plus 500 futures can fit into a modern strategy. The platform provides access to futures on crude oil, gold, silver, and even Bitcoin. They also offer micro contracts, which allow you to take smaller position sizes with lower capital requirements, with commissions as low as 49 cents per micro contract. This can help investors fine-tune exposure without committing large amounts of capital. And Plus 500 operates in a CFTC-regulated environment with no inactivity fees. If you use my link to open and fund an account with at least $300, you can receive a $60 welcome credit. Terms and conditions apply, and you can find the link below in the description or comment section. Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Leverage can work against you as well as for you. And of course, big thanks to Plus 500 for sponsoring today's segment. Now let's look at the fund's total returns. And this is where things get really interesting. Since inception, RSPA has delivered total returns that have outpaced JEPI by a large margin. And year to date, RSPA has provided double the returns of JEPI at around 5% compared to 2.5%, and has even matched the performance of the S&P 500 itself. But the most important thing you'll notice is that its risk profile was significantly better than the overall market and was almost perfectly in line with JEPI's. You can see that towards the end of March, where the S&P 500 was down over 7%, RSPA only fell by 1%, while JEPI fell by 1.6%. And if you compare that to other high-income ETFs such as SPYI, it has outperformed significantly because SPYI lost around 6%. But as we know, the markets have undergone an unbelievable recovery in the last month. And looking at JEPI's performance, it is now lagging behind the overall market significantly as it wasn't able to capture that recovery. But RSPA was able to do so. So essentially, this fund provides a similar risk profile to JEPI, but manages to capture a lot more total returns on the upside in recovery stages. And let's not forget that it's cheaper to hold and has a higher dividend yield. So I'm actually very confused why this fund hasn't taken off yet. Now, let's take a look at another example, like the 2025 tariff-driven sell-off. During the April 2025 sell-off, RSPA experienced a maximum drawdown that was almost perfectly in line with JEPI, losing around 10%. And this is significantly better than the S&P 500, which lost around 15%. But again, you'll notice that during the recovery after the sell-off, RSPA has been able to outperform JEPI by a very large margin, returning almost 18% compared to 10% since the start of 2025. That is nearly double the returns. So the question is, how does it do this? How does the fund actually work? And this is where things get really interesting. To begin, RSPA holds a portfolio that mirrors the S&P 500 equal weight index. And when you look at its holdings breakdown, you see a rather evenly spread allocation towards various sectors of the market. And immediately this resembles JEPI's portfolio because JEPI also uses an equal weighted portfolio construction and avoids any concentrated holdings within specific sectors. That is what actually gives JEPI its risk management qualities, and RSPA is structured the exact same way. However, there are some differences, and when you look at each individual sector, you'll find that RSPA holds more in sectors like financials, real estate, energy, utilities, and consumer defensives. But a major difference that many people might overlook is that RSPA still holds over 500 individual names, compared to JEPI's 100. So with the equal weight profile and the broad diversification, you're getting those risk-averse characteristics that many income investors and retirees seek. Now, another major difference is that JEPI's portfolio is actively structured and is focused on large cap value stocks. So that naturally excludes many powerful growth names like Nvidia, Google, Micron, etc. But that is not the case with RSPA, because remember, it holds all the same stocks within the S&P 500, just at an equal weighted allocation. So you're getting similar risk management, but with the extra boost of these high quality growth names that many value-oriented ETFs tend to disregard. Now, would that add more risk to the ETF? Yes, but remember that it's also using a high income strategy to cushion volatility. So it's a very genius strategy that's actually really simple. But there is also another step to its risk management quality, which I'll talk about in just a second. Now, how does the fund generate its extremely high yield of around 10%? Well, this is where RSPA and JEPI have a lot of similarities because they both use ELNs. Rather than selling options directly in the market, RSPA uses something called equity-linked notes. So let me explain what an ELN actually is, because this is something that every investor needs to understand. An equity-linked note is a debt instrument issued by a major financial institution. Think Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, or Morgan Stanley. Now, the note is linked to the performance of an equity index or ETF, and embedded within it is an option strategy, typically a covered call, a cash-secured put, or a combination of both. When the fund purchases an ELN, it effectively receives the option premium income that is generated by that embedded strategy. Simple. So the ETF is not selling options directly on the open market. It is buying structured notes that already have those strategies built in. And the premium income simply flows back to the fund, which then gets distributed to you as a monthly dividend. Now, when you look at its holdings breakdown, you'll notice that roughly 20% of the fund is allocated towards these ELNs. And this is the final step of the risk management structure that's embedded within the fund. When 80% of your portfolio is exposed to equities and 20% is used to purchase ELNs, the fund naturally captures only 80% of the drawdowns of the underlying stocks. So if the S&P 500 equal weighted index falls 10%, this ETF will likely suffer only 8%. And then when you add on the income generated from the ELNs, the fund could cushion that drawdown to potentially 6%. So overall, you have an ETF that is using the benefits of an equal weighted structure and a high income strategy to provide strong risk management, but at the same time manages to capitalize on growth within big name tech sectors of the market, creating a very interesting risk to reward profile. And in my opinion, RSPA can potentially serve as a core holding in many investors' portfolios. And that is all for this one. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.